Here we go. Look at this. This is crazy. Okay, so beside me, you can see this picture that I put together yesterday on the program, and it's made from a whole bunch of random images that are in sketchbook papers as well as individual papers that I draw these pictures on. We scan them and then we put them into the computer by magic through the scanning machine. Once it's in there, we can do all kinds of, monkeying around, and then we can make it a bigger picture from it. It's wonderful. I could do this all day. Product placement. All right. So, yeah, here's the picture that we done. There's something wrong with me. Generally. All right. So this is the page that was being worked on yesterday. I took the black line art that we did with my new ink brush that I made of myself, and we put together this little bit of funny business, and yeah, so it's I really enjoy the opportunities that come around from just mixing things up and trying different things. And it doesn't matter if you felt like drawing one thing in marker and one thing in pencil or one thing in paint, you can still assemble those things together into one static image. Now, honestly, there's that thing that happens when you look back on what you just did and go, I'd change that. In this context, I would add more white to the big airplane engine, and the junk was spilling out of the other side of his head, to get rid of a headache. So I was trying out a couple different things this week. I've done some pages with art dice, I've tried a bunch of new tools out that I got from the Craft Hive in St. Thomas, and yeah, all around generally feeling good about stuff. But I thought that we'd do a new page today. I've got some suggestions that I've written down, and then I've left the paper elsewhere in the house, and it just takes too long to go and get it, because it takes me a few minutes to travel from here to there still. So we will be incorporating those, especially in the new week. But in the meantime, I've still got all the old books kicking around with all the old suggestions in them. Here's another thing I haven't really. So why do I keep a sketchbook? And why do I think sketchbooks are really helpful for people? It's all about what you're going to get from that. It's all about what would be of help to you for idea generation, and what would be of help for you in just taking away, if you're anxious in the moment and it helps you to doodle, sketchbooks are great. So this is probably the smallest one I've got. Well, definitely is the smallest one I've got. But this is the sort of thing that you could throw in a pocket and carry around. Hi, Chris, welcome aboard. And do doodles with whatever drawing tools you have in your pocket. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch camera views, and I'm going to show you this little sketchbook here. And then we'll remove the other camera, because you saw today's page. Happy. So this is the kind of things that I'll scribble. This is me watching a Kate Bush, video. if you remember Kate Bush's videos, she dances, through those. And this, again, scribbling different ideas, testing out different compositions and things. How you doing, Malcolm? And then just trying out stuff. You know what I mean? There's no plan of action here. It's just, one of the kids wrote, hi, no, on the page of my book. That's and I just drew over it. Like, I just painted over it and just leave it in the background, because Chris knows that, running up that hill. Yep. They're popular again because of those what's that called, weirder things. I know it's Stranger Guts or whatever it's called. So Again, subway. This is people in front of us at a theater. This is just a city shot. Cat. Some character poses in front of the doctor's office. This is again character poses. Just thinking of a story idea, doodling trees at an event, and a little bit of sky that's supposed to fit behind the trees. So ballpoint pen, red ballpoint, brown ballpoint, and a little bit of acrylic. More doodly doos, and trying to think of some characters for a project. And again, drawing over top of pre-existing drawings as I usually do. And this is a theater stage. Here, Lori and I like going to the theater. We like it. It's fun. But they're very dramatic there. They're very dramatic people. Anyhow, so I've got some paper laid out. I used to have a problem with a shortage of drawing pencils. I like to use color erase pencils, right? Blue ones. And, so I would buy, I found a light blue one that day. Oh, it's exciting. And then I found these online, and I can get a whole load of different leads to go inside of them. And there's at least 8 colors came in this. And then I discovered these bad boys, which is a plastic fake pencil, but it has the color erase lead inside. You just press the bottom and it squeezes it out. Pardon me. I've got a frog in my throat. And you thought your job was hard. Anyways. So I thought we would draw, lay out something with those today. We'll see. I might change my mind in the next 5 minutes and decide instead to use a primary pencil. Primer print from Venus, Canada. Yeah, let's just use this. Why not? So Monday night in London here is the London Comic Jam, which I'm really looking forward to heading back to. It's been a little hot minute since I got to the jams. I haven't been there since last year. And we do it once a month, and last month I couldn't make it for the first time in a while. So yeah, it's funny how habits make you miss something just because your routine got thrown out for 5 seconds. I keep trays all over the studio, and I keep them accessible. Like, let me see if I can pull this out to show without causing wholesale calamity. No, I think it's, are you coming out? No, it's stuck. So I've got trays of pens. Like, this is just a handful grab of the drawer I have of jelly pens. So these are, just jelly roll pens that are fun to be able to draw with, and come in all kinds of random colors. I've got a nice little selection of white kinds of pens that I have in stock to use when I need blues, black pens, all kinds of. Just gonna reach in the drawer and grab whatever. So here's just some greens and purples out of the colored pen drawer, and I try to keep all this sort of stuff relatively nearby because I find that it's helpful to just, hey, grab this and try this, right? You can get some really truly interesting results when you leave yourself open to opportunity like that, and I highly encourage it. Something to think of anyways. Listen, there's been a lot of posts that I've been getting, and I don't know if this is a new little hot trend that all the people are taking part in, because that's what people do, going on about AI art. I don't know if something's happened where something's kicked up the sensitivity level on AI art again, and people saying, listen, if you're posting stuff in art, you think that's harmless. It's really hurting artists, and I suppose so. But at the same time, I generally argue that those people that are so quick to use those things and think nothing of it aren't the people that were going to hire you for anything anyways. Because if anybody that's that easily accommodated and that easy to fall on the hype train, look at me, I drew this, and they didn't draw it, AI did. But if you're that quick to jump on that hype train, you're not going to be encouraging and supportive of individual creators and pay them an amount of monies to do something for you, because that takes time and that takes investment into others and their skill sets, and that's not how the world works. We live in a world of accommodation. So those people that they wouldn't hire you is what I'm trying to say. So it's just how it's going, folks. That's just how it's going. It's getting a bit exaggerated lately. AI pros and cons. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to argue about the rampaging monster that's going through the streets when the rampaging monster is already out of its cage. It's like trying to whisper secrets into a wind tunnel. It's you're not accomplishing much carrying on about it at that point. It's just what it is. So, all right, we're going to try a couple things. So this is a color brush pen, an Econoline brush pen. Lori brought me a little set of these back from the Netherlands when she went to visit family there with her mom and sisters. And what I like about these, they're very light, very pastel, very, very soft. But what I can do with them is what we're going to do now. And hopefully that's going to fix that light situation. I'm trying to sort it out here, folks. I think what I need is a session with somebody who really understands how to set up lighting. I mean, properly set up studio lighting for a thing like this, so that they can say, "You're doing it wrong, dummy. You do it like this. You strap this big thing to your back and you have a light over the top of your head that, it burns a little. You'll get used to it, Well, thanks, Mr. Timkins. So this is really soft, and this is really, subtle. But what we're doing is that it's allowing us to expedite our drawing time here so that we can put the image together quickly, not get too overly focused and overly worried about, all the details. Let's just rough it in quick and see what that gives us. And then we'll go from there. But in the meantime, we're getting on with it. So this is a little guy. You didn't fly there, right? No. No flying. So I'm going to do this character holding a board and hiding behind it. And then we're going to pull our details in a second. Yeah, so clearly I'm missing some kind of trend. Usually these things come around is when it's really starting to affect people individually. Somebody sees that somebody else is using a thing and they're like, I got to draw that for them. Stupid AI. And then they rail on about AI. And, well, you couldn't have done that thing for them. They wouldn't have asked you. They didn't ask you. So you can't help them. If you got a friend, say, hey, Bob, don't do that. But don't bother shouting in the wind. Okay, so I'm going to put a line across here. Have a young man come right up to it. And we're going to have some fun with this in a second. So hopefully I'm still in frame here. But what I'm going to do now is draw their hands as they're holding this little notice board. So I have no idea where this is going. I have no idea in advance. Fun thing that I keep trying to push on people, because I'm a monster, is that if you are thinking of something as we're doing this that makes sense and, fits into the, not your own weird, like it's not a weird thing that's just your thing and you don't kind of realize that it's not everybody's thing. But if there's a suggestion that might come to mind about where we could, this could go, it's a chance to jump in. So and I'm going to cut off around here. I got this stick. This is my stick. It's not even a ruler. It's just a stick. And it just sort of tells me, hey, here's a good cutoff point. So there's our character. I'm going to move this over a little bit just so we can add a little bit on this side. But here's this young person holding this signage up, and then we'll tighten up our details in a second. Now, the great debate is, do I tighten up our details using black ink or blue ink or pencil? Like, there's a whole bunch of different things that we can do at this point. So here's our character, and then we'll follow through on his shoulder, drop this one down. There we go. So here's the other side. Now, so here's our young man holding up a sign. Is this going to help with the light? Is that any different at all? Yeah. Maybe if I try switching this one. Yeah, see, that's crazy. Is that brighter or darker? I really can't tell you. Oh, see, you can see that's darker. Trying to learn these things now, folks. There we go. Look at that. I think that worked. All right. So here's our rough laid in first character in the first panel. Now I'm going to add in somebody behind them because that's fun. And because I can. So what I've been doing is picking random things out of a sketchbook page of doodles, and we're going to make a page out of it. And rather than scanning it, I thought, let's just draw a proper page as a proper page instead of assembling a page. I've done that a few times recently. I don't know if it's helping people or not, but let's just do a good old standard drawn page today. So here's the next person behind them. And they're also in the shot. So I could put a third one here if people think that. Well, we'll get to that in a second. How's that? So let's see what I can do with these colored pencils. Now, because of what happened the last time, where they all kind of went the way of the dodo, I stockpiled my pencils, and so that I don't need to go pencil shopping for some time. And I gave a bunch to students. So this is another one of these color erase pilot colored pencils. This is a darker blue, lighter blue. I may well use both, but in the moment, we're going to start pulling details with this crazy old kid. So, well, see you in a few minutes, Chris. Have a safe drive. So I'm going to start putting in some of these details here. People don't want to hear, we get so caught up in our own heads and our own ideologies about how we perceive things that people don't want to hear, contrary thoughts towards it. They could, people don't want to be told, you can't do anything about it. It's just what it is now. And I don't want to hear that. I'm going to fight it. I'm like, okay, good. But that's why we have examples throughout history of pushing a rock up a hill, only for you to have to do it again the next morning. These examples are trying to, educate people that sometimes it doesn't matter how upset you are about it. That's just what it is. So this AI thing, I think is, I think that's a really great example of it, is that have conversations with people like just straight up, not after the fact. That's whining. Do it in advance. Say, listen, if you got there's things that I can do for you, please let me know. And I know that there's a lot of AI things out there that make people think that they're solutions. They're not. And here's how that actually affects me. That's proactive. But that's tricky. That's hard to do. Like, first and foremost, are they going to listen? First consideration of people is that they're motivated by their own immediate need. First, even in the nicest and most noble of people, in that first second, they go, oh, how does this affect me? That's how we survive as a species, as a creature. That's kicked in. But people can't, they're going to do things because they don't know, unless people just, kindly bring them into the loop. And the whole, well, how could they not know? They can't know. They might not know. It's as simple as that. They might not be as exposed to something that someone else is. So surprised they didn't know that. Well, nobody knows everything. There's no such thing. It's a funny Leonard Cohen song, Everybody Knows. And all these things that he said, everybody knows the gun was loaded. It's like all these little lines in the song. It's just this whole taking for granted thing. It goes throughout the song itself. It's kind of interesting. But so I'm using two different blues. I got the light blue, I got the dark blue, and we've got this light blue brush pen that we've done as well. So I'm using the lighter blue for midtones, and then I'm coming in with the darker blue for for the emphasis points. We've got some different things I got to get done today after this stream, as I did an hour-long stream yesterday. It's because yesterday I was slammed. Pow! I had a whole bunch of stuff to get done. So, but the night before I was on for 2.5 hours. So, comes around about. So here's our character coming in now. Up a little, like I said earlier, highlight points. So if I scan this and I convert it to black and white line art, black line, and the light blues will be grays, and the dark blues will be blacks, and then hopefully the brush pen, very soft pastel blue will appear at all. Sometimes they don't, right? It's just too faint. You really have to push the contrast quite a bit in order to get them to. I think I realized that my other light was facing the wrong way. Way to go, Christopher. So we're just understanding our subject here and following some lines. Now coming again, I'd put some emphasis points through here as well, but we're building and defining with this the lighter value. I know what you're thinking. This drawing is taking forever. Hurry up. We're working on it. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with how some of the projects that we've been trying lately. I hope people that might be watching this, whether it's now or later, I'm hoping to give some of these things a try yourself and see like if there's things within some of the examples that we've made here that you can incorporate in your creativity. Maybe there's something in there that, hey, I'm going to give that a shot. And I'm going to mix that peanut butter with my chocolate. That's the example I'm doing. And see if that inspires and encourages some new insight into your own creative process. I hope so. I hope so. So this is a little close on one side, not on the other. Just want to just tighten this up a little bit more. So I was watching a show the other day, and I didn't realize it was the last episode of the show until it's basically the last episode of the show. And season, right? And I remember, like, I really enjoy watching this as it comes, There's so many things you can just stream the whole program one after the other for episodes. And it doesn't give enough merit, I think, or time for people to process all the things happening in said program. So I enjoy when streaming service channels put out projects that you gotta wait. You have to wait till the next season. And it just gives some value to that. There's a German television show, which in my opinion is the best show of its kind, called Dark. And I don't want to tell you what its kind is. It's a sci-fi related thing, but it's the best, in my opinion, of its kind. And as soon as you realize what the show's about, then you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it, I guess. But 3 seasons of that show, waiting for the next one to come out and so on. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. You know, just one of those things. And I've been watching I was watching a Fallout show too, and that just, the season came to a close. And there's one thing that bothers me. The whole of this television series, and probably its video game system it's based on, is the TVs are so unadvanced, and they're set 100 years from when those televisions were designed in the way they are, and that people are still using them like that, and it just annoys me because it's sort of so caught up in a stylistic choice and decision. It really kind of misses how commerce works. And it doesn't matter what that society that commerce is built in. For something like this, like a television set, it would advance. Those screens would be really big, like much larger for the common usage than they are on the program. I mean, for goodness sakes, Orwell's 1984 has wall-sized televisions. It's got to tell you something. So here's our backup character. We'll add a little bit more detail to them as we go. And we're giving this kid some big ears. And apparently a bodysuit. So the light blue that we put down initially, this light brush marker, has sort of enabled us to, we see all of our structure. It was applied lightly and loosely, and that's good. That works for us in that moment, because then all these other decisions that we're making, putting our marks down after that, the framework's all here. It's all lightly dropped in. We're just going to, it's like baking a cake, right? Here's the basic things to go in the cake. And then where you're making that cake your own is, you're adding your kind of finishes to it. So, learning languages. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, he's in a textile cult. There's a really great film in the 1950s, maybe 60s, starring Sir Alec Guinness. And it's called The Man in the White Suit, and it's about a person who puts on a suit that is really hard to damage, and it's really hard to get dirty. And so he's, here he is running around in this white suit, and everybody's trying to catch him. Because think about it, that's the kind of thing that shuts down an entire textile industry. Because if you make clothing in such a way as people don't need to replace it, well, then what? Takes away the purposefulness of an industry. So, yeah, those shows are kind of interesting when it comes to fashion stuff. And French shows are just weird. I like Luc Besson. Some of his films are just, like his Valerian I really enjoyed, but some of his projects are just so over the top in characterization. He just throws all those crazy ideas in there, like, like similar to what you're just describing, Malcolm. That's just thrown in, like the sort of wild ideas. Like, there's a Fifth Element. That's a Luc Besson film where when the guy gets up, this wall-mounted device, suddenly 3 cigarettes just drop down into it, and it says, "To quit is my goal." That's a cigarette allotment for the day. What a weird idea. And it's just incidental, you know what I mean? Like, it's just there. Okay, so we're going to put some emphasis points on this guy in the background. You know, you don't have to do all these solid lines defining something. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Greatest American Hero. Thanks. Thanks, Malcolm. I don't think I've thought about the Greatest American Hero since it was on television. I know somebody else that really liked William Katz. I think it was more of a crush thing, but that's a guy that no matter, you know, as he was going through his whole career and his aging and stuff, he still looked the same. He held on to his vibe. So I'm going to big old emphasis point around our card that our character here is holding up. Look at this terrible line that I'm making here. Oh my gosh. Oh, who cares? Just go with it. Is that the one that had Believe It or Not, I'm Walking on Air as a theme song? It's hard to, so many television shows with so many pop songs as their theme song. And yet Cheers was never a hit song on the radio. So I've got a paint box below my surface here to hold the drawing up at a decent enough height to be able to see without it shifting or adjusting there. Problem is, it's creaky. Well, that piece of lead went flying. Apparently somebody pressed too hard. So here's our character's hand coming in here. And I mean, we can do some texture, add a little bit of texture here with this light blue pencil. Nice thing about, you know, using different pencils for different, you know, like the dark pencil to emphasize things, is that when, especially if you're to take this and convert it to line art, like a black or color-based line art for you to put color to come up underneath it, it's that the darker color, the thicker line, things like that really pop out once you're doing that transfer. You know, I'll often put thick emphasis lines around areas I want to draw attention to for either the form or for interest, and those really come through quite clearly, even if you're like, you might, in your drawing, it might be green and red pencil, but after you start that whole digital inking process of transferring it into black line art or actually applying inks to it, it really starts to, you know, step away. And it starts to become far more interesting and clear that way. So, Yahoo! Okay, so I've got So I'll just put a little bit more of the light pencil work, and then we'll do our emphasis separations of the darker value, a little bit of outlining, and move on to our next panel. I have no idea what we're going to do with this page as of yet. I really don't. I mean, it could be, who knows, superhero application day. And here's this person holding up the number placard in order to get their interview or their chance at showcasing what their superpowers are. So really funny. Bob Burden did a book, Mystery Men. They turned it into a film. And even in the film, they captured the wonderful absurdity of some of the people. They have a superhero tryout day for people to join their superhero team. And some of the people that they got coming to those events are so fantastic. They're so silly. Okay, so here's our character. So this is kind of like the soft, hard principle I showed about folds and things. So now I'm just going to put an emphasis line around here. So we're at 12:42 already. Wow. Today's just flying by. Maybe this is a secret hypnotizing card. Maybe this character I've drawn is hypnotizing me. Making me lose track of time. Maybe he's a Dracula. Who knows? Hypnotizing me with his vampire powers. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. I was watching some program off of Tubi, and the guy, the bad guy gets away by, basically using suggestion to outwit the dopey guy that was left with him to keep an eye on him. And when everybody else shows up and says, what happened, man? Like, how did this happen? He's like, he whamma-jammed me with his mind bullets, or his mind powers. He hit my brain like bullets. I've used the term mind bullets for years for silliness, and I was so happy that he said, it hit my brain like bullets. Oh, Chris is almost back. I hope you're driving safe. So here's our first panel coming together. Here's our characters here. I'm going to put another one on this side of him, and then we'll put a divisional line here from this in the next panel, and then we'll just get right into that. You know what I mean? So today's page is the one that I was digitally assembling. I think it was yesterday. Excuse me. The days run together, folks. The days run together. Pardon me. Okay, so I'm going to pull this over a little bit so I can go more to this outside edge here. And we'll grab our... I apologize for the coughing. I really do. I'll take a drink in just a sec. All right. Checking in. I had to take something real quick there. All right. So we've got our characters who are standing here facing the whatever the interview process is. And I think what might be interesting to do now is to continue this along and have people standing in a line and so forth. But let's get that third character in behind. No explanation why this guy's wearing this kind of bodysuit outfit thing here. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to put another person sort of over top of them. And draw this lady as she's standing, behind him, right? And then we'll have this fellow here who's in over this shoulder of our character. So as all these people are waiting for their opportunity at the front of the line, we get to see some of their silly hijinks as they're doing so. And then the next line I'm going to do is people one after the next in the line. And it'll help to tie together what in the world is going on in this picture. So I'm going to give him a snotty face. Can't believe I'm behind this guy. And then we'll get the arms crossed. I don't know how much you're going to see the arms crossed, but we'll try to establish that. Raised shoulders, And put the bottom of a hand here. That might help to sell the idea. But there's our next caricature. I'll let that dry a little bit more. Come over here and finish this lady up. She's more passive, right? Different people, different personalities, right? So there's a great big rumbling going on outside the studio as the snow plows go by, trying to hold back the overwhelming snow, keeping us all safe in our comfy little society. Telling the snow, no more. We shall tolerate you no more. And then pushing it around. Okay. So there's this, and we'll do one more top of somebody's head over here. I'm including their parts when I'm drawing, like the part in their hair as I'm drawing these. Just because that's interesting to me. A bit of wrinkles in their outfit. Okay, so let's finish drawing these people, and then first panel is for the most part done. So I'm doing the light blue pencil first, starting to pull up some details, and then I'm going to come in a second with that dark blue pencil and start to pull out the emphasis points in those details. Red man, then an orange man, now a blue man this week. Oh yeah, you betcha. Shaking it up. That's all I got. I got the car sound going through my head. Cars, honestly, as ironic as it might be, or unintentionally or intentionally, they really are a fun thing to listen to while driving on the road, like on a highway. The trick is don't get too carried away with it and start driving too fast. But especially if you're in a traffic jam, it's fun music to listen to. When the last time we were in Toronto, moving Nicole and her husband into their apartment, you know, as you're driving on the Queensway or whatever piece of highway that you're on there, and there's great sections of that where you're just beside the next vehicle. And just because I'm having fun in a big city and, you know, trying to figure out a way to dispel some stress, I'm playing Wagner in the car and motioning my head like I'm listening to heavy metal. I got the window down and somebody pulls up beside me, and I got a couple of them looking at me like, what in the world is this guy doing? Whoops. But I was having fun. That's what I was doing. Not getting stressed about traffic jam and, you know, congestion. Not sure I knew where I was going, you know. I kept cutting people off. Well, not so much cutting people off, but I kept changing lanes. Like as soon as, you know, my wife in a moving van in front of me, as we're trying to bring it back, as soon as she would start to motion, like to use her turning signal to say that we're going to need the turn up ahead, I would start moving into that next lane as soon as I could. So that, because it's far easier for me to be able to see what's going on in the next lane and to pull our car over than it is for her to try to figure that out while driving the moving vehicle. Okay, so there's our first panel. And, oh, no, I got to finish the last person. I'm so sorry. And then the highlights. And then the next panel I'm going to draw is them standing in a line. We'll have this person's is here, and then here's their outfit. This person, whoops, dropped my paint case that was holding up my paper. There we go. Well, sit now, everybody. Everybody got all your limbs? Here we go. So, I can't remember what I was saying. Something about the apocalypse. I watched a new, well, new to me, video thesis on the different types of dystopias. And I thought, of the 4 different types, the absolute worst of them all is a bureaucratic dystopia, which is kind of what we live in now. You know, but it's more things like Brazil or 1984 or, you know, Brave New World, those types of things. You get bureaucratic dystopias where everything has to be done a certain way. Everybody has to agree on certain things. Homogenization of everything to the point of loss of identity. Terrifying to me. Terrifying and boring. Okay, so let's put the fingers in on our guy's hand as his arms crossed. So there we go there. And this lady's over here. This is her arm. And then back here is this gal's look. So, okay, so there's our first panel with all these people standing in behind. And so I guess the next thing, let's approach the following image, which is going to be more about, you know, they're all lined up. They're all waiting for whatever it is that we're going to decide they're doing, you know, which I haven't really quite figure it out yet, and I'm trying to think of what the best way to do it would be. Let's just draw. Let's just, enough monkeying around. So I'm going to run this image. Or so. And then we'll start there. And I'll figure out if I want to do multiple panels in that spot. My phone is a buzzing. Oh. Okay, that's just my doctor's appointment tomorrow. All right. The Blue Man. Aren't we living in a dystopia? Darkest timeline since 2020. There you go. Blue Man looks worried. Yeah, well, this whole Blue Man group. Oh, I see. So I'm going to draw a large group of people, one behind the next, in a line here. And, and we'll go from there. But just to add some movement, some direction in here. So we're going to have a really loose and roughed in kind of a way of doing this, but purposely so that I can, really play with the idea of this unending amount of bureaucratic process. So we've got our next character coming in. I'll try to catch up in a second here, folks. Sorry, today I want to just rough something in. Like, I just want to get a page together here. And by having one person before the next. And again, the other part of it is we have to have size differentiation between the people in the line, but at the same time, we need to have them like shrinking over the course of the panel. So I'm using this really in a haphazard way, this pastel marker. Just so that, like I said earlier, it's not about worrying about all the lines. It's not about being, taking too much time considering ABC. It's literally just throw something together, let's go. And then we'll start to shake it up as we move along. So here's our people getting smaller. And before I go too far across, I'm gonna, start adding some details. I'll move back again. Oh, hi, Linda. Hi, Tim. I might have somebody looking towards the back of the line in a second. We'll see. It depends on how, how inspired I feel to do that. I'm trying to change up that it's not all just the same color, right? A little bit of light here, a little bit of dark there, a little, different folds and shapes, and outfits, different heights for people, and just, the great diversity of mankind. People kind. Human. Terrans. Okay, so let's go back in with this light blue and start identifiably putting in a little more line work into our characters. It's a lot. That is a lot, Salty. Take care of yourself. It's probably not I have very little pencil in the tip there, and it's starting to be less mark making and a little more scratchy. So thinking about soft folds, hard folds. Here we go. Little backpack clip there. I don't know, sports bag of some kind or something, I guess, but I'll just, have something clipped over his shoulder. The sash he's wearing. So there's our first guy coming together. And give him some clearer hair. But yeah. I'm watching a show right now. Korean program and drawing hair like the main character. He's got great hair. Lots of hair. Just a perpetual mess of hair. But it speaks very closely to his character. That's his look, So I'll come in a second with the dark blue and start adding some, what nows to our first character here. A little more clarification in the line work. So here's our dark blue. Now, I haven't really defined an environment that these people are standing in, but they're all fairly illuminated, so it's not like they're in a dark hallway, so we can rule that out right off the hop, or something like so I just put his hair in here. Let me darken that up. There's our first guy. Give him some chubby cheeks there. So by throwing down the shapes with the light marker, it really expedites the process of the forms that we're drawing for our characters. Just looking at as large shapes of value rather than focusing on all the specific details. But I said something this earlier today, because I think I was mentioning it's much different color, a page that I posted that I'd previously shown from drawing it in black ink to basic colors to the finished stuff. And we think about these things creatively as we're producing something. We make all kinds of little choices along the way, very planned out. And that, all those intentions and all those plans, the reveal is really when you're done, right? The final thing. So that applies to this page today. Like it just, you know, in my head, I had all these separations for different levels in the image. But until the color was applied, X amount of people wouldn't be able to make out all those details and separate those different. This is closer than this. This is closer than this. This closer than this. And so, using the color. Another phone call again. What is going on? Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to sign off early again today. I'm sorry, folks, but things are happening. Good things. But let's get a little more done here, and then I'll go and continue with this. And then I've got some other things that are on the docket today. Global domination being one of them. We're going to start in Montana. Don't tell them. Just because Frank Zappa always said, well, you're going to move to Montana soon. I think he said, I'm going to move to Montana, but you get the idea. He also said, watch out where the Huskies go. Don't you eat that yellow snow. He said that the other way around. So here's a person's purse. Underarm there. So hopefully this is starting to make sense. So this is my drawing of a dystopia where pure bureaucracy. Everything requires lining up. Everything requires a special stamp. Lots of silly business. So there's our first couple characters on this panel. But I'm going to have to go in a second here because the physician's trying to get a hold of me about something I'm waiting to hear about. There we are. So here's a lady holding a purse. Here's a guy holding a bag. And then here's a front view of a bunch of people in a line. Now, I could do descending in size heads back through here as well. But we're kind of really getting into that here, and we'll use this space anyhow for some textual elements, right? So the next panel here will be just showing these people in this long line so that I can have places for, storytelling in there. And then I think what I'm going to do with the rest of the page is I'm going to divide this into 3 vertical panels. And so the trick is, with the text, you have to make it go from here. Okay, there's our first text. And then we can just put the title on here. And then we need to make our second text here. And then our third text here. Okay, so that you read, your eye goes this way. And then, we follow through here, we bring it down to here, bring it down to here, right? But yeah, that's how we're going to go about this. All right, folks. Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out. And listen, if you've got, if you know anybody that might be interested in checking out the channel and taking part in our process, let them know and tell them to subscribe because we're trying to get to 500 people by, in a month or so. So that would really be helpful. Okay, gang, that's it for me today. I'm going to sign off, and I will be posting pages over the weekend that I've already got ready, but I will see you on Monday. So in the meantime, have some fun exploring creativity. Bye for now.